Hey there, welcome to Cars for Kids. I'm your Dragon Mechanic Mike, and today we're going to be changing the tire on a Crazy Kart XL. I've already went ahead and taken steps and moved just a little forward because the easiest part's removing the cowls. It's literally just bolts all the way around. Simple screwdriver will get the job done. You will, however, need the Allen wrench that came with it or a similar wrench to remove the two small bolts that'll be hidden right here under the seat. Once you have your cowls off, it's just a matter of taking off the screws here, and on the bottom, which is an easy task to do. I do suggest, however, having a regular screwdriver versus a drill because these are small screws and you can strip them out pretty easily. I'll do my best to show everything that's going on. So we got the two top ones. Now you're going to have two small ones down in here, and I don't think I'm at a good angle to show that. Give me just a moment. There we go. Now you've got two more that are down here. The easiest way to get to those two is going to be by lifting the car on its back, like so. And of course now the camera's wrong again. Y'all do have to excuse me, this is my first time trying to record this, or record like this, so. Alright. But you just yank the two screws here. They should just come right on out without much effort. Now you get this little piece here that you're going to have to remove. The problem with this piece here is they don't make it easy to remove. It's going to be a fight. But once you get it out, just set it aside. Now you're ready to access your tire. Now what you may notice is that my tire might look a little different from yours. I have a hard tire on mine because it's a nice little upgrade that you can order from certain stores online, such as Taxi Garage, and it does make riding quite a bit easier. Now, these bolts are 16 mil, or these nuts are 16 millimeter. You got two options. You can either use a wrench, an open-end wrench, adjustable wrench, or you can use a 16 millimeter wrench. Personally, you're going to need two, so why not do both? You want to make sure, try not to lose any of these parts because they are a pain to get just those little bits. Now, my suggestion here is when you get to this point, flip it up this direction so that the bolt can slide out easily without any instructions, and you will have to wiggle it a bit because it's going to have a bit of a tight bite. And what's immediately going to happen is the tensioner is going to pull your chain. And that's something you got to be aware of there, is you don't want to lose these either. You're going to need these to put it back together. There will be two of them. Oh. Now, as for the next step, you got to take off these four screws, here, and here. Now they do have screwdriver slots. From factory, you're not going to be able to take them off with a screwdriver. You're going to have to get some kind of a small wrench to get them off. But as I've changed this already, they already broke loose. The Loctite's already broke loose. I do not suggest doing this with a drill, just because these are soft metal and they will strip easily. Now, and I did forget this on my part. I seem to always forget this. And it's going to be hard to see, but on the back side there's a nut. And I always forget that nut's there. So you got to remember that nut's there. Try to grab it with your adjustable wrench. I mean, you can even hold the tire up with the wrench while you're doing it to keep it on there. Just pop it out. There's your nut on the back. And when I'm working with a bunch of stuff, I usually try to put my nuts together so I don't lose them. So I know that goes specifically with this item. It just makes it easier when you're putting it back together. Like this one's going to be a particular pain in the ass. Yep, that one's not going to come loose. Alright, so in the event you get one that's like that, you just got to get a small socket. I do believe it was something like it was either an 8 or a 10. I cannot remember off the top of my head. So yes, it's 10 millimeter. And the only problem with using a wrench on this is they don't give you a whole lot of room to work in here. So once you get your wrench bit, it does take a particular amount of force to get past the plastic to loosen it up. Okay, I'll come back to that one because it's being a pain. So let's grab this one. There's another issue you're going to run into is your wrench loosening up some. But once you break it, you can always go back to your screwdriver. It just makes it way easier once it's broke. Done and done. Always making sure you keep your tools together. On this one. There we go. Got it broke loose. There goes my nut. And you will occasionally get one that's being a little ornery like this. It just takes a little effort to get it broke loose and now at this point, you've got 4 screws. And an issue we'll run into from factory is that these 4 holes, here, here, and here, are supposed to technically line up to these 4 bolt screws down in here. They won't always. Way to fix that is take these 3 screws out, rotate it until it matches the holes, which you can change your tire while doing that. And then put it back on so that it's lined up and get it good and snug. Now, as you can see, some of these are going to be pretty tight because, well, I use Loctite to make sure mine stay together once I get them in there. Just back it off, make sure your washer stays with your nut, or with your bolt I should say. Set it down. Now, if you decide you don't want to take that plate off, which is completely fine, it is a little bit more of a pain to get your wrench down in there with this in the way. So it is better when they line up, and it does make it remotely easier. Now, something you will run into once you start breaking these loose is the tire slipping, because you'll see it more when I get to this last one. Because at this point you don't have anything holding your tire anymore other than that one bolt. So as you try to turn that one bolt, it's going to slip loose. So I'll show you a way to get around that. Alright, we're on the last bolt. Now if I try to turn it right now, nope, it's actually going to break loose for once. Alright, so let's say it didn't break loose. Take your fingers, grip inside the tire, take your thumb, grip the tire itself, and squeeze real tight as you're wrenching on it, and that tire won't slip and you can get it to pop loose. As I said, you're going to notice that more than likely you've got a regular tire, which will have an air tube inside of it, which I will show you in a moment. When you do separate it, make sure you do not lose this piece and that you put it back inside. It's got to go back in here when you put the tire together. If you don't put that in there, you'll wind up warping this, and it is a pain to get out when you warp one. But as I said, I'm currently using a hard tire. It's solid all the way through, no air, anything like that. More than likely what you'll wind up with is see if I still got one handy that's not in use. There we go. In most cases, you're going to wind up with a tire like this. And it's going to come with an air tube. So when you go to put it together, you're going to have to tuck your inner tube in, which can be a slight pain, but it's like putting a tire in a bicycle. It's not really all that big a deal once you get it in there. As you can see, this one's slightly inflated because it's used, but for the sake of showing you how to do it, and it's in. And then when you go to put it back together, there's a little hole right here. You'll make sure you line it up so that the nozzle is sticking out the hole. That way when you put it back together, you can get to it to air it up. Now, my personal suggestion is to do it on the blank side. From factory, it will come on this side a lot of times, and it does get to be a pain trying to get around the teeth and everything else, because you're going to have your chain and everything else in the way once you put it back together. So putting it on this side, you've got clear access other than the bar. But we're going to set this aside and move on with me changing to this. But at this point, you should be able to handle everything else. It's a pretty simple task of, putting your wheel in place, lining your holes up, which this hole here is perfect for lining up, because as long as those two holes line up, it'll go together. Now, one tip I will give you before I end this video is, while putting it in there, put one screw in, get it tightened a little bit, and then squeeze with your hands once you get the other one in there, and you can tighten it up So once you've got this one set, oh, here, I'll do one for an example. No, I can't do it for an example because it'd be backwards, but. So I'll go ahead and do it for an example anyway. Which it is kind of hard to see because it's tightly placed. But if you put it on your leg or something and just give it a little push, make sure your holes are lined. And now it's biting. So you'd set that just a little bit and then squeeze the other side, drop your screw in, and start it till it bites. Then you'd hit this side, then this side. And that would tighten you up. I appreciate you watching the video. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment and I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can. Y'all have a wonderful day. This is your Dragon Mechanic, signing off.